2019 overall, for gaming purposes, or just in general, has been quite an underwhelming year. It's been an interesting year to say the least, but the end of the decade is just around the corner, and I think that 2020 could be the best year for gaming, possibly ever. There are so many different things going on in gaming right now that are happening that is actually unreal. There's a lot to go over, so I think it's worth an entire video talking about it. Given we're in December 2019 now and 2020 is less than a month away, I think it's finally time to go over it. We've gotten some great stuff out of the year so far. We're pretty much done with big releases coming out. I mean, we've gotten some great stuff. Sekiro, Jedi Fallen Order, Mario Maker 2, Halo finally came to PC after all these years, but let's see what 2020 brings to the table. The 9th generation of consoles and Halo Infinite scheduled for Q4 2020. So, at E3 2019, the official next generation of video game consoles was announced at the 8th, and the 8th generation will be coming to a close at the end of 2020. Microsoft announced the next Xbox console, which is now called the Xbox Series X, and that Halo Infinite, the long-awaited next Halo game, will be launching alongside it. It'll also be launching on PC and most likely the Xbox One. I'll most likely get it on PC because I will never buy a console at launch, never have done it, never will. I will most likely get it on PC. The Xbox Series X is said to run at an estimate of 120 frames per second, which we know is a huge overstatement, but the one thing they said they're focusing on, which I can actually see them reducing, load times, which would be really nice. A few months later, Sony officially announced the PS5, despite the fact that it had pretty much already been announced a good 75 times or so beforehand. Nothing had really been revealed by Sony about the PS5, other than the fact that it's happening. Outside of that, Nintendo hasn't announced anything about a new console, which, in my opinion, is a good thing. I think they should stick with the Switch for a really long time. That's the type of console that could last several years if it wanted to, so long as Nintendo makes new models and changes up the hardware every now and then. Going back to Halo Infinite for a bit, a lot of people stopped talking about it, and for multiple reasons. For one, Halo has come to PC, which is a great thing, but also we still haven't gotten actually any gameplay for the game yet, and more than likely we probably will by the time of E3 next year. And I still have high hopes that Infinite will be pretty good, and hopefully great. But in the process, lead developers at 343 have left and people are losing interest. If there's one thing 343 and Microsoft need to do better at, it's promoting the game. The Last of Us 2, set for May 29th, 2020. I am so excited to play this game. The Last of Us is one of my favorite games ever made. It's my favorite PlayStation exclusive ever. I hold it in such high regard. So that being said, when they announced the sequel a couple years ago, I lost my mind. It's been a long process for Naughty Dog making this game, from its announcement to the gameplay demo at E3 last year to the official release date revealed. It has been since delayed, but only by 3 months, and I have no problem waiting that long. The story of The Last of Us was so good, it was so compelling. It had such great set pieces, characters, and gameplay. It does suffer from what I like to call PlayStation exclusive syndrome, where at times it feels a lot more like a 15-hour cinematic film than it does a video game, but the story, characters, gameplay that does happen more than makes up for it. They showed off a gameplay demo at E3 last year, which it looks really tasty, although I'm pretty sure that's not actual gameplay. I mean, I know E3 demos are essentially meant to deceive you nowadays with the countless examples of it, but I'm seriously hoping for the best with The Last of Us 2, and it's also Naughty Dog. They rarely, if ever, make a game I don't enjoy. Doom Eternal, March 20th, 2020. So the Doom reboot in 2016 is possibly the best reboot in gaming history. In fact, it is. It's a game that I definitely plan to review at some point. I hold the game in very high regard, but then we have Doom Eternal, which there's a lot to go over. I'm hyped for it, but it was delayed from November of this year to March of next year. which I have two things to say about, both of which are on opposite sides of the spectrum. The positive thing I have to say about the game being delayed most likely just means that that id wants the game to be at its best when it releases, and it wouldn't be with the state that it's releasing in. The more negative thing I have to say about is that ID made a mistake of putting the game out for being available for pre-order, knowing it could very much be delayed. On the other hand, Mick Gordon is back to promote the soundtrack and compose the soundtrack, which is great. He did a great job with Doom 2016 soundtrack. It was awesome. It fit the tone of the game absolutely perfectly. Doom Eternal's looking really promising, gotta admit. It's definitely something I'll look into picking up. Cyberpunk 2077, April 16th, 2020. My hype levels for Cyberpunk go beyond normal measures. My fucking blood pressure rises when I hear that name. I'm so glad that it's finally coming out now. I've known about this game since 2015 when I saw the original teaser trailer that was released almost 7 years ago. Since then, CD Projekt Red has come a long way. They obviously made The Witcher 3, which was excellent, one of the best games of the 8th gen. There's definitely going to be so much depth and substance to Cyberpunk. Every new detail revealed makes me want to play this game more and more. I was so happy last year when CD Projekt Red finally brought this game up again after it had seemed to just be lost to history beforehand. Fucking Keanu Reeves is going to be in the game. That's awesome. This is definitely my most hyped game for next year as of right now. It just looks absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to play it. Marvel's Avengers, May 15th, 2020. This is a very, very interesting one to me. I did briefly mention this game during my E3 2019 video, but this Avengers game is definitely a make it or break it kind of game. It's clear that Square Enix is making it to capitalize off the success of the MCU franchise, and you know what? Good on them. Troy Baker and Nolan North are voice actors for this game, which is great. I love them both to death. I think they're the two best voice actors in the world, and they have been for several years at this point. It'll be interesting to see what kind of game this is. Could it be like Insomniac's Spider-Man game was? I kind of doubt it. Square Enix has always had a unique way of running all over the place with each game they make, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Kingdom Hearts 3 was a huge disappointment, the likes of which I haven't seen since, like, Destiny 1. However, this game does look very promising, despite being a very mixed bag. Ori and the Will of the Wisp from February 11th, 2020. I played Ori and the Blind Forest for the first time after E3 2018, and my mind was completely blown. I can't recommend it enough to literally everyone watching this. Give it a try. It's amazing. That being said, they announced the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, which is Ori and the Will of the Wisp. It releases next February, so only about 2 months left to go. It looks amazing. It looks like the developers are mostly focusing on cranking up the already spectacular, breathtaking gameplay from the Blind Forest, which is all I can ask for. The game does look genuinely spectacular. Definitely something I'll be playing once it comes out. Other than that, I really don't have anything to say on it. Final Fantasy VII Remake, March 3rd, 2020. I'll be honest, I could never really get into Final Fantasy. It just wasn't ever my cup of tea. That being said, 7 is said to be the best one, being one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time since it released on the PS1 22 years ago. It definitely is a game I'll look into maybe getting. Apparently it's coming out episodically, much like a Telltale game, which I don't know quite how to feel about that, but it should do fine. I am interested in playing it since I've never played 7 before. The ones I have played are 15, 14, 9, and 4. I am told that 7 is the best one, so I will eventually play it. I am kind of hyped, but I don't know how much I'd like it. Dying Light 2 for Quarter 1, Quarter 2, 2020. I did play Dying Light, the first one, a fair bit while it was popular back in like 2016. I consider it an above average zombie game, so with the sequel Dying Light 2 coming out sometime in the first half of next year, and I really don't have anything to say. It looks promising, I will give it that, but I won't be too quick to judge. It looks good. But again, I'll wait a week for reviews to come out, I guess. So, yeah, that's Dying Light 2. Skull and Bones, March 2020. Okay, so Skull and Bones actually looks pretty cool. It's a pirate game developed by Ubisoft. Now, I'm by no means an Assassin's Creed fan, but Black Flag was a spectacular game. Then Rare developed Sea of Thieves, and the rest is history. This is actually a AAA developer that actually knows how to make pirate games, so I hope they remember their game from 6 years ago that they made really well. From the trailers I've seen, it does look very promising. If it's good, I'll definitely pick it up. I'll wait a week for reviews to come in to see if it's good or not. It does look pretty fun overall. Above all, I'm quite anticipating its release. Psychonauts 2, sometime in 2020. The first Psychonauts on the PS2 is one of my favorite action-adventure games of all time, and I hope the sequel will be worth the 15-year-long wait. There's just so much depth and creativity to the first game. The Double Fine really did it justice, and it's one of the greatest games ever, in my opinion. The level design was so great. Psychonauts 2 looks like it's only delivering more of the same feeling from the first game, and I can't wait. There's no stopping the hype train for this game. We still don't have an official release date for it, and as far as I know, there's no way to pre-order it yet. But nonetheless, I have no doubt the game will be more fun than just fun. I don't know. Just an amazing game. I'll be sure to pick it up. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, sometime in 2020. So, Traveler's Tales are remaking Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga. Not only will it include all the characters, levels, and stuff from A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, as well as the prequels, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, but it's also going to have levels from the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy, with the movies like The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. We don't know when it comes out, we just know it's next year, but I'm so excited for this. The Complete Saga was a large fragment of my childhood. There's just so much fun to be had in it, especially growing up as a massive fan of Star Wars. This looks so great. The Complete Saga was awesome and deserves a proper updated remake. Watch Dogs Legion, March 3rd, 2020. I can't help but feel relieved that Watch Dogs Legion actually looks fun and not something that looks fun, and it looks like fun. It's not something that takes itself too seriously. I like both of the Watch Dogs games, but they both had glaring flaws. The first one took itself way too seriously, with a boring plot, and it lacked several elements that would have made it better. Watch Dogs 2, in all honesty, isn't a very memorable game. There are times where I forgot Ubisoft made a Watch Dogs 2. Don't get me wrong, it's actually a pretty fun game. I just don't remember too much of it all that well. I remember almost none of the story. It looks like Legion is throwing everything we know out the window just for the purpose of outright fun. The catch with this one is you can apparently take control of any NPC in the game, which just sounds like a really great time. Overall, I'm really excited to see what Ubisoft pulls out of their ass with this one. It actually seems like a lot of fun, and I'll be sure to end up checking it out when it comes out. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I recently plugged my Discord server in my one of my last videos, and I'm going to do it again for this one. Please join Discord please join my Discord server if you haven't already. You're supporting me by doing it, and we only have a few people in the server. Anyways, that's it for this video. My Discord link will be in the description. I'll see you guys later. Peace.